Come in, Gary, come in. I'm very excited to hear this pitch. I blew off the funeral of a dear friend of mine to be at the office today. The difference between your husband and Gary is that Gary can still make me a great deal of money, I said to his grieving widow. So don't make me look like a fool, Gary. I plan on asking her out while she's still vulnerable. What's the movie called?
It's called The Dragon Lives Again.
The Dragon Lives Again. I love it. Dragons are big now, and resurrection never goes out of style. It's the perfect title. The dragon was defeated, but now it lives again. There's no ambiguity there. The box office does not tolerate ambiguity, Gary. You remember the movie Who's Harry Crumb? Of course you don't. Nobody knew who he was or what was going on, and the failed producers of it refilled my sage-infused water at lunch today. To hell with ambiguity.
The film begins with the announcement. This film is dedicated to millions who love Bruce Lee.
A group of millions that I am proud to call myself a member of. The man was more than an entertainer, he was an artist. I have 3 framed photos on my desk, Gary. 2 of them are of myself, and the last one is of Bruce Lee. I cherish what he gave the world and could not be more excited to be a part of a project that honors him and pays respectful tribute to his legacy.
After his untimely death, Bruce Lee wakes up to find himself in the, quote, underworld.
A legacy that you waltzed into my office and instantly crap on! Never mind that you condemned one of the finest men Hollywood has ever known to the fiery depths of hell, but apparently he's at some sort of off-brand quote-unquote hell, which for legal purposes, likely stemming from some sort of unspeakable sex scandal, cannot actually refer to itself as the underworld.
He meets the king of the underworld and questions his power. The king demonstrates his displeasure by shaking a pole that can cause an earthquake through the underworld.
I can assure you, Gary, that were I the king of the underworld, I would be shaking the hell out of my pole right now!
Bruce ditches his cocky attitude.
And how might that be conveyed on screen? The powerful executive asked, not realizing until he had finished the sentence that he already knew the answer. Gary, you are planning a ditch his cocky attitude montage, aren't you, you sick, sick man? You know, I've always said the movies needed more ditching cocky attitude montages. The Third Man is the perfect film, you say? I'm sorry. I must have missed the part in The Third Man where Joseph Cotton's character wanders around Vienna, gradually ditching his cocky attitude while the How You Like Me Now song from that Kia ad plays in the background. Because without a scene like that, your supposed perfect film is nothing but swill for diseased hogs.
Bruce goes to a restaurant where he meets Kane from the TV show Kung Fu and noted sailor man Popeye.
Ah, yes, the noted sailor man Popeye. Had you just said Popeye, I would be left wondering, might this be Popeye the guidance counselor? Or perhaps Popeye the Cooper, maker of the finest wine barrels? And had you just said Sailor Man Popeye, I would be scratching my head thinking, is it possible he is referring to 1978 Naval Academy graduate Popeye? Or the Popeye who sailed round the Horn with the East India Company in search of the finest tradable goods to please the Sultan? But thankfully, you cleared everything up, Gary. It's the noted Sailor Man Popeye who Bruce Lee chats up in a restaurant in the bowels of hell.
He also runs into Dracula, James Bond, Zatoichi, and Clint Eastwood, and they don't hit it off.
The eternally damned are not as friendly as one might think, huh? Perhaps they don't hit it off because Bruce Lee makes the basis assumption that he is addressing the noted Dracula, James Bond, and Zatoichi, when in fact he is just addressing Frank Dracula, the rapist, noted tax evader Jimmy Bond, and the Zatoichi who was also a rapist. And holy crap, Gary, why is 2-time Academy Award winner Clint Eastwood on this list? The last time I checked, which, as it is every day, was at 4:48 a.m. right before I got out of bed, the acclaimed director of Flags of Our Fathers was still among the living. And oh, Gary, if you are planning some sort of sinister murder-for-hire scheme to bump off the beloved star of the Bridges of Madison County in order to justify the twisted cosmology of your hacked-together screenplay, you have come to the wrong suite in search of co-conspirators. I keep 3 pictures in my wallet, Gary. All 3 are of myself. But were I to, in an uncharacteristic and frankly unneeded moment of humility, replace one of them with a picture of another human being, it would be a picture of the man with no name himself, Clint Eastwood Jr.
Those pop culture characters, along with The Godfather, The Exorcist, and Emmanuel, are planning a coup to take over the underworld. Among their schemes, the characters send Emmanuel to have energetic sex with the king, a womanizer, in the hopes that he will have a heart attack.
Sending off an erotic film star to have energetic sex with someone in hopes of triggering their death via heart attack. Wasn't that a major plot point in The Secret of Nim? Yes, I think we may need to reevaluate this scene because it might be plagiarized from the scene in The Secret of Nim, where Mrs. Brisby sent off her daughter to have energetic sex with Jenner in hopes of the energeticness of it being more than he could bear and triggering a heart attack. I'm just making this up! There was no scene like that in The Secret of Nim! It's a children's classic which has no room within its tightly constructed narrative for smut of the magnitude you are describing to me! Although thank you, Gary, for pointing out that the king was a womanizer. Otherwise, this whole murder by energetic sex plot point might have seemed a tad implausible.
Bruce defeats the bad guys, but is angered by the king's repeated use of his dangerous earthquake-inducing pole.
Dangerous earthquake-inducing pole. When you retire to your hovel tonight, Gary, I'd like you to wipe away the grease from your bathroom mirror and take a moment to stare at yourself. Look into your own sunken, shifty eyes and repeat those 4 words you just uttered to me. Dangerous earthquake-inducing pole. For if there is even the smallest shred of humanity remaining inside that soulless husk you call a body, I hope that hearing this, the stupidest thing I have ever heard uttered, will awaken it, and it will realize it must snuff out the threat you and your screenplays pose to humanity. And if not, if you stare into your mirror and say dangerous earthquake-inducing pole, and then lay down on your bedbug-ridden mattress and contentedly drift off to sleep thinking to yourself a job well done, well, then I weep for us all.
Bruce threatens to kill the king unless the king lets him go back to Earth, which he does.
I assume that the dangerous earthquake-inducing pole remained sheathed during this encounter?
Viewers may be left confused by the possibility of being able to kill a person in the afterlife, but never mind.
But never mind? What? Gary, damn it!
Dear God! His head exploded! What did you say to him? You know what? Never mind. This isn't the first time this has happened. Thank God he can afford such highly paid doctors. He actually had a contingency plan in case something like this happened again. Let's see. He gave me this note. In case of Scanner-style head exploding, please read this to the hack whose movie pitch caused it. Gary, get the hell out of my office.